So this is the attitude across our society. But he says this, even Christians are picking up this attitude. And here's what it is. Marriage, even in the minds of most Christians, is now perceived as a capstone that marks a successful young adult life, not the foundational hallmark of entry into adulthood. Let me say that again. It is now perceived as a capstone that marks a successful young adult life, not the foundational hallmark of entry into adulthood. So here's what he says. A capstone is the finishing touch of a structure. So you build the building and then you have this thing called the capstone. It's sort of like the star you put at the top of the Christmas tree. It's like the cherry on top of a sundae. That's what a capstone is. It's a moment in time. A foundation, however, is what a building rests upon. It is necessarily hard-wearing. In the foundational vision, being newly married and poor was common. You don't have much money. You're just getting going because our adulthood is starting. It was common. It was also expected and difficult, but often temporary. In the capstone way of looking at marriage, being poor is a sign that you're just not marriage material yet. And so then people put it off. I've seen this. I go to weddings, and a lot of weddings. I've been to weddings where it wasn't, it's not a Christian wedding, and I've been to weddings that are Christian weddings. And then you hear various different toasts from people that are close to the bride and groom, and of course a lot of the people present at the wedding are not Christians. And you could feel this attitude, and it is basically the same among the Christians and the non-Christians. And the attitude is simply this: you made it. It's like a lavish wedding. It costs a lot of money. We're having a grand party. Everybody's decked up. People look really pretty. And so now it's like you did it. You went to school. You got a job. You dated. This worked. You did this work. And then you found somebody that you love so much. Now you're willing to get married. You have your money. You have your career. Now you have your soulmate. And now we're going to spend the money and have this great celebration. It's a capstone. It's like a destination. It's a place that we have to arrive to. And so there are all these young adults who are friends of the groom and bride, as if you have arrived. You have been a success. You got to this place. And every time I get this feeling, and I get it at every single wedding I've been to, I always think that's so foolish. The life is just starting. That's really what it's going. The life is just starting. And so the real truth here, the reason Mark Regnus puts this, because he's biblical. Marriage is not the capstone. It's like you're laying down a foundation. And it goes back to what I was talking about last week. You want a deep and meaningful life, you have to be willing to sacrifice for people. If you want a deep and meaningful life, it can't all be about you. Your career, your identity, your name, your clothes, your vacations, all that cool stuff you're going to put on Instagram because you're having a cool life and everybody, is jealous of your cool life. Oh, you got this great, promotion and everybody is so happy for you about your promotion. And then as you grow older, and I think you already know this, at least in your head you may know this, but as you grow older, you're going to find out it's pretty empty. You have to have somebody who will say, my child is sick. It's 2 a.m. I don't want to get up, but I will. My wife is sad. My mother-in-law is dying. This is unbelievably stressful in the middle of our life. And this, I don't know what this is going to do to my wife. She's not going to bear this by herself. I'm with her. And all of that sacrifice, that's a life. That's the Bible's vision of life. Now, I'll save this for a moment. If you are single, the Bible doesn't mean that you can't live this. You can live like this. You can live like this. It's just that, you have to have a little bit more intentionality. And generally, in the historical past, the Bible has a very high view of singleness. But if you have purpose in the kingdom of God and you'll live for Jesus, and then you will live for your church family, you'll do this for your church family. And then you will do this for your neighbors. And you realize what you give of your life, how you sacrifice of your life, now you're building a life. But most of us, the vast majority of us, we're really, really lonely. We want to have kids. And unless you have somebody who lives in the house and tells you to pick up your dirty socks, you'll focus on yourself. That's certainly me. Certainly me. I won't become a better human being. I would have been a terrible pastor if I wasn't married. Now, there are some really good pastors who are single, but I couldn't have been one of them. All right? That's more normal. Now, one more sentence from this article, and then let's get to the Bible. I don't usually like going this long without getting to the Bible. But I want you to feel the profound relevance of this. So he quotes a pastor that I respect. His name is Russell Moore. Russell Moore wrote a book called The Storm-Tossed Family. Marriage is increasingly a vehicle of self-actualization rather than a setting for self-sacrifice. Marriage is increasingly a vehicle for self-actualization rather than a setting for self-sacrifice. Same thing. Capstone, foundation. Self-actualization or a setting for a deep life, a strong adulthood, a setting for self-sacrifice.